Because there is that coming care gap, whether our families are too busy or living at a distance, we're going to need that assistance. Technology is going to be a helping hand to make that happen. So while there are all kinds of science fiction things to creep us out, I am very optimistic that technology is going to enable us to live longer, better, healthier lives.
The world is rapidly aging, and given that, the effects on caregiving, on transportation, on housing, on your retirement plan, they're changing rapidly as well. And here to talk with me about that is Dr. Joe Coughlin. He's the director of the MIT Age Lab. Joe, welcome.
Hey, it's great to be here, Bob. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. So two things, Joe. Our goal with Decoding Retirement is to make this a person's first and last stop in their search for knowledge about retirement planning. So thank you for being here because you're going to help us accomplish that mission. Appreciate it.
You're always a delight to work with, and you know more than even most of the experts. So it's happy. I'm great to talk to you.
Well, no one knows as much as you, and I want to start here with caregiving and well-being. It has been described at times as a $600 billion problem, especially when you think about all the unpaid caregivers in this country. You study caregiving, lots to talk about there, right?
Yep. No, absolutely. I mean, I want you to imagine this, Bob. In the United States or North America alone, 1 in 4 American families is providing upwards of 20 to 25 hours per week to care for an older loved one. That doesn't count children or people with special needs. So caregiving is, shall we say, in the shadows, that is right now a personal problem, but should become a public issue.
Yeah. What advice do you have for either people who are caregivers or perhaps even recipients of care?
No, absolutely. This is one of the things that retirement planning has, I don't want to say it's completely dropped the ball, but it has defined it profoundly as only a financial issue. So if you are planning for your own retirement, individually or as a couple, yes, absolutely. You're going to need the financial wherewithal, the financial security to provide the care you need, even if your loved one is going to provide it. The number one caregiver is typically your spouse. And sadly for you and I, or more likely, Bob, sadly for our wives, it is more likely the wife caring for the husband. But after her is the adult daughter. And so while both those caregivers, the spouse and the adult daughter, would certainly appreciate and need a sort of robust financial plan and bank account, that's only part of it. In fact, I would even suggest it's only 50% of it. You have to start planning out who's going to be providing the hands-on care. More likely than not, your spouse is going to need her own care, and your adult daughter, typically, even if you have adult sons, are going to be busy or distant or whatever it might be. So how are you going to fill in the gaps? Everything from adult daycare to healthcare to home care. Who's going to do the little things, perhaps as it advances to get you dressed, to have food on the table, or frankly, just to take out the trash on the simple stuff? So yeah, financial security is part of it. But here's a scenario, Bob, identifying the person or service that you would trust to go into your mother's home when you're not there. Mom is 80-something years old. She's not cognitively as sharp as she once was, physically may not be as well. Who do you trust to go in there to care for her? So it's not just a matter of having a bank account. It's a matter for having the actual service or the face that you would trust to do that.
Yeah. You mentioned this notion of it's not a financial matter, but you've written recently, I think, that families lose half their wealth in the 8 years before a dementia diagnosis. Obviously, so now it's twofold, right? It is financial and all the things that you just mentioned.
Yeah, no, some really good work done by my colleagues at the MIT Age Lab, Lucio Quinto, and folks at AARP, Dr. Julie Miller, came up with this metaphor of the leaky pipe. And years before the diagnosis of dementia, bad decisions start to happen. Maybe bills are not paid. Maybe crazy things are purchased, if you will, that are well outside the budget. Sadly, maybe we become more susceptible to scams and seeing that money leak out, shall we say, of that euphemistic pipeline. And so, as we start to see caregiving as an issue, it starts far earlier than we think. And it's not just a matter of like, oh, there's an issue, let's intervene. This is profoundly emotional. When do you have the courage and the opportunity to tell a spouse or a parent that, Dad, you're not quite okay. I need to step in. We fought for our independence as teenagers. We fight even more, shall we say, passionately as we are older. And so it's a very hard spot where families find themselves in the crosshairs of emotional, physical, and financial stress.
Yeah, I'm often fond of saying that as we age, right, our parents become our children and the children become the parents, and someone needs to take charge of some of these decisions and maybe
Yeah.
and maybe the
And,
place is to do that in a family meeting, perhaps.
yeah, in family meetings, but I have to tell you, Bob, I don't want to get our viewers depressed, but I stumbled on some data that really did depress me. An estimate suggests that 1/4 of families out there are estranged from their adult children.
Mm.
So, as we talk about caregiving, one of the things that we've done at the labs, we've done research on who do you think is going to take care of you? And without question, it's, well, my partner, my spouse, or my adult children. Well, by the way, only of the vast majority who said those people are going to care for them, less than 30% actually have had the conversation that person knows they're going to care for them. But imagine where 1 in 4, or maybe even a little bit more than 1 in 4, are estranged, not talking, living at a distance from their loved ones. That means that we have a coming care gap in the United States that is going to make the current issue look, shall we say, like the norm. But the coming care gap will be not just financial, it'll be a profound public problem as well.
Yeah, Joe, I want to let you know that my wife used to ask me how my day was, and she stopped doing that because I would quote something depressing news like you just said to us. And she
That's
said,
why I
I've
don't
had
get
it.
invited to parties. Now we
Right.
understand.
I've had it with your depressing news. Talk a little bit about, as we think about caregiving, the future of homes and smart homes and perhaps social robots. Are we on the verge of technology helping solve some of the problems here?
Absolutely. My colleague, Dr. Chai-Wu Lee, leads a whole program at the Asia Lab called Home Logistics, or Home as Service. I want you to imagine now your home no longer is simply a place to keep the rain off or a place to live, but frankly, a platform of services. We found during COVID that all those little services that the, shall we say, crazy kids, the Gen Z, younger millennials were doing life by app, became effectively a virtual assisted living for rides, for food delivery, telemedicine, pharma delivery, and the like. So, with respect to robots and other technologies, so the so-called Internet of Things, where, shall we say, everything begins to watch and everything begins to talk to itself, yes, they are already here in small amounts. I would ask everyone listening to ask yourself, how many strangers are in your house right now? As you mention certain names, speakers may light up, or that constant familiar face that knocks on your door and drops off a package. So these services are already evolving, and I would suggest to you, Bob, that this is a new cost in retirement that no one is thinking about. It's not in anyone's line item, but yet it is part of the run rate of living. Now, you
Yeah.
mentioned robots, which is one of my favorite topics because these technologies are, shall we say, getting between cool and creepy. So, yes, there will be robots out there that will be keeping you abreast of your favorite recipe, your favorite program, but also reminding you of your medication. Also, maybe reminding you that, in my case, Joe, put the ice cream away. You might want to try a watermelon dessert tonight. But also the social robots, some that will engage you in a game or to talk and can tell by the timbre of your voice, are you well? Are you happy and not? But the part that's going to be coming soon, and I guess I would say soon is in a decade, maybe even less by some estimates, are going to be robots that actually do work around the house. So whether it's the usual names like Figure or Tesla and others that are out there, they're envisioning robots probably for the cost of a medium-sized car, a medium-sized sedan that will fold the laundry, clean the house, may even down the road be able to prepare your meal. And when I say it's the price of a car, I'm sure a lot of people are shuddering, going, where the heck am I going to get that amount of money? Well, think about the following. When people retire, one of the most, shall we say, popular retirement gifts is not just the vacation, but it's the new car. I could see in about a decade or so, people go, well, I got the car and now I've got the robot. Or frankly, I think a lot of this will be by subscription. You may not own any of it, but you'll be paying on a monthly rate, which also has profound implications for your cash flow in retirement.
Yeah. So, Joe, speaking of technology in the home, we can't avoid talking about AI, artificial intelligence.
Yeah, no, AI these days is the topic everywhere and about everything. It is definitely going to be ubiquitous in your retirement. Now, we were talking about technology in the home. So AI is going to be, shall we say, seamless. And as Arthur C. Clarke said, the best technology is that which is invisible and seemingly works like magic. Well, AI will be there to remind you of your meds. It'll be there to monitor, are you sleeping late because you were out partying the night before, or you're not sleeping very well? Are you having your coffee later than usual? It'll enable your caregiver and formal and family, if you will, to be able to intervene, to be proactive before there's an issue, such as your gait has changed, your walk is a little different, you're likely to fall, rather than having a house that says, oh my gosh, help, he's fallen, he can't get up. Well, once you're on the floor, we frankly have other issues. So AI is going to be there to, shall we say, be a caregiver's aid, an augmented intelligence to age well. And of course, robots, when we talk about robots, most people think about the physical nature of robots, but behind that physical thing of whatever they're doing is AI.
Yeah. Joe, it would probably fair to say that you don't fear the future of technology. Should average people, us mere mortals, fear this notion of a robot telling us to take our meds and whatnot, or should we relish this opportunity?
I think we should relish it on a number of fronts. One, technology moves quickly for a few, but by the time it gets to most of us, many of the bugs have gotten out. Most of the time, it's gotten more affordable, not always affordable, but more affordable. But the other issue is that because there is that coming care gap, whether our families are too busy or living at a distance, we're going to need that assistance. If we want to stay in the homes where we love, so-called aging in place where our marriage, our mortgage, and our memories are, technology is going to be a helping hand to make that happen. So while there are all kinds of science fiction things to creep us out, I am very optimistic that technology is going to enable us to live longer, better, healthier lives. One thing, Bob, as a footnote, though, we should start preparing for that being a new cost in retirement because we've never thought about it before, but suddenly start thinking of your subscriptions, your cell service, your speakers, your smart devices, and all the subscriptions you've signed up for your refrigerator, to talk to your toaster, to talk to your car, to have the food delivered. That's an invisible thing on your credit card that now needs a line item in your retirement plan.
Yeah. Joe, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll talk more about retirement planning, longevity planning, and transportation in livable communities. Don't go away. Welcome back to Decoding Retirement. I'm talking to Dr. Joe Coughlin. He's the director of the MIT Age Lab and one of my favorite people in the world because, among other things, Joe, you get to see the future in ways that most people don't. So it's always a pleasure to talk to you about what we can expect and what we should be doing. You spend a lot of time thinking about transportation. I've had an opportunity to go to the MIT Age Lab and drive Miss Daisy, although poorly, I must admit. I think I hit a number of animated children as their balls went into the road. But transportation is a big issue. I think I might have mentioned in the past that I'm the chair of our local senior center. And by golly, it is, I think, our number one issue is getting people to medical appointments or hairdressers or the grocery store and whatnot. So what can we expect in the future as it pertains to transportation?
Now, transportation, as you know, Bob, is one of my favorite topics. In fact, it is the very topic that got me into aging and retirement in the first place. I became shall we say, a schmexpert in older drivers, an issue trapped somewhere between humor and horror in many cases. But transportation is one of those overlooked issues that people simply take for granted. Let's give it some context. Do you know that 70% of Americans over the age of 50 live either in suburban or rural areas where alternatives to driving either do not exist or they're just too difficult to use? Here's another little factoid that few people think about. And by the way, even financial advisors get this wrong. What are the top 3 costs for a couple over 65? And immediately people yell out healthcare and housing. Well, they're not incorrect, but they are incomplete. Number 1 cost is housing. Number 3 cost is healthcare. Number 2 is transportation. And so one of the things we also forget is that transportation is not just about getting you where you need to be. It is a vital part of quality of life. It's about getting to the things you want, the things that make you smile. You will get to the doctor's office. You will somehow get food delivered, or you will get to the grocery store. But as you know, Bob, one of my favorite stories I like to tell is, will you get an ice cream cone? Will you get the thing on a hot summer night that makes you smile that you don't need? You don't want to bother your adult daughter or a neighbor that you don't talk to on a regular basis saying, hey, will you take me out to Dairy Queen for a soft serve? That's not going to happen. But those little things are the things that make quality of life in older adulthood possible. And so transportation, frankly, is one of the great missing links to a quality retirement plan, and frankly, in many of our communities.
Yeah. So I want to turn my attention to my favorite topic, retirement and longevity planning. And obviously you spend as much time thinking about this as the other topics. So give us the brain dump.
Well, this is going to sound a lot to the audience like a word game, but I think if you think about it, you realize that it is not. There are many examples of very wealthy people out there who have not done very well in retirement. That is, they've not done very well in terms of caregiving or social connection, or their health did not fare very well. But they had a really strong bank account. What I'd like people to start thinking about is not simply retirement planning, but retirement preparation. So absolutely maintain that dedication and that discipline, if you will, to saving enough for financial security. And advisors, employers, and whatnot can help you with what that secret number might be. But the difference between planning and preparing, to make it always relate, in my case, Bob, as you know, always back to food, is kind of like writing a shopping list. A shopping list is a plan. But until that food is in my cart, in my cabinet, or frankly on the stove, I'm not eating. So I would ask people to start connecting the money to what they're going to need. So if it's transportation, have you identified what those alternatives are going to be, where those services are going to be, and how much they're going to cost? If you think about caregiving, having a long-term care plan or self-annuitizing long-term care makes infinite sense. But now that you got the checkbook, who's going to do it? What kind of services will you need? Do you even know what a geriatric care manager is to be able to integrate those things together to make it possible? So the difference between planning is the shopping list and having a checkbook. The preparation is actually having everything ready at the time of need, long before you need it.
Yeah. So in retirement, Joe, and I think you've written recently about this topic, about how to pivot when your retirement doesn't go as planned, as you've prepared for it. What do folks need to do? I mean, I look at retirement and I think it's sort of like flying a plane, right? You just don't go from one point to another without making adjustments along the way. So whether it's an adjustment because of something that happened that was unplanned, or something that happened that you just need to make adjustments for, but it's the unplanned things, the unexpected things that people really need to prepare themselves for, right? Like yesterday won't be the same as tomorrow, per se, right? Or tomorrow won't be the same as yesterday.
You know, what's really funny, Bob, is if you think about the whole area of retirement, the people that are entering it soon or already in there are frankly on a new frontier of retirement. Our parents, our grandparents, not only had different financial strategies, either because they had defined benefits or the like. Frankly, they didn't live as long either. So this next generation is going to be living a much longer period with, shall we say, relatively more uncertainty financially. But in that time that they're living, they're going to have many different changes. We have marketed a falsehood that retirement is somewhere between cruises and crutches. But in between, there's going to be so much more. There will be health events. There will be births of grandchildren. There'll be the desire and the demand to have to move. I would suggest that there will be more changes than all the previous life stages before that. The challenge will be is that you may not be physically, emotionally, or maybe even cognitively uh, as capable to, shall we say, be able to manage and pivot in those moments. So part of being prepared for retirement is having lots of plan Bs and frankly, even plan Cs, which will also include having conversations with your partner, your spouse, your family, so they have a general idea of what is it that you would like, or be on the, shall we say, on standby for when you want to make the moves that you need to do.
Yeah. You and I have talked a lot in the past about livable communities, about the age-friendly notion of having the 8 domains all in place, whether it's housing or economic security or community, et cetera. Tell us, should people think about moving to communities that are quote-unquote livable versus not so livable?
Absolutely. They should, the home is very important, but like the real estate mantra says, it's about location, location, location. And livable communities basically is not just is it have transportation alternatives, access to healthcare, cultural amenities, and the like. Is it a place that will support you as you age? And there are tools out there. Yes, there's the designations of livable communities, but AARP also has a great website where you can punch in a zip code and it will give you scores on a variety of fronts as to how livable or how age-friendly a community might be. At the end of the day, it's up to you if you and your partner, or if you're living solo, to weigh which of those variables you think are the most important and how you'll be able to manage for transportation, housing, access to work. Frankly, don't ever forget the F word. Access to fun matters.
And access to a Dairy Queen with soft serve, perhaps, as well, huh?
Got it.
All right. Joe, we've run out of time. I can't thank you enough for sharing your knowledge and wisdom with us. It's greatly appreciated. We'll have you back on a future episode for sure.
Great. Thanks so much, Bob. Great being here.
So that wraps up this episode of Decoding Retirement. We hope we provided you with some actionable advice to plan for or live better in retirement. And don't forget, if you've got questions about retirement, you can email me and we'll do our best to answer your question in a future episode. And lastly, remember, you can listen to Decoding Retirement on all your favorite podcast platforms.
This content was not intended to be financial advice and should not be used as a substitute for professional financial services.